I was sitting in my wheelchair outside the Cedar Bluff VA clinic in full uniform, waiting early for my regular pain appointment, doing absolutely nothing but minding my business and skimming mission notes for the trainees I was supposed to brief at 1100 when a local cop walked up, called me boy, and hit me with a taser straight in the chest while my service dog watched. Yeah, that actually happened, and I need you to hear the whole thing because it did not end the way he thought it would. My name is Lieutenant Commander Marcus Reed, United States Navy Naval Special Operations Group 9. Medically classified disabled after an IED outside Kandahar, turned my lower spine into scrap metal and took my legs from me but didn't take my career. And I'm saying that up front because later on these guys are going to swear they didn't know I was real, that they thought I was faking it, that I was stolen valor, that I was loitering, all that usual script. But let me walk you into the moment so you can decide for yourself if it sounds like confusion or if it sounds like exactly what it was. It was one of those early September mornings where the sun is already sharp but the air's still cool, shadows still long across the asphalt. I pulled into the handicap slot in my adapted pickup, transferred down into the chair like I've done 1,000 times, Atlas. That's my service dog. German Shepherd trained better than half the people I meet in authority. Hopped out and took position at my left knee like always, eyes moving, body relaxed but ready. In case I start to tip or lock up, I straighten my uniform, fix the ribbons where they sit crooked if I'm not paying attention. Bronze Star, Distinguished Service, Cross, Purple Heart. The kind of rack people take pictures of at parades and talk about like it's glory. But when you're the one wearing it, you don't see glory, you see faces, and you remember what it cost to sew that metal to that fabric. You know what I mean? I rolled in through the automatic doors, and Rosa at the desk, who has the energy of a grandma and a drill sergeant at the same time, looked up and said, "Doc's a few minutes behind, Commander. You want to sit inside or get some sun?" And I told her, "Put me out in the shade like a houseplant, Rosa." And she laughed and waved me out like she always does. This is routine for us. This isn't drama. I wheeled back out and parked in the little slice of shade by the ramp near the entrance, not blocking anything, not in anyone's way, not raising my voice tablet in my lap, going through the slides I was going to run with the new guys later that morning. Room clearing, command sequencing, the boring stuff that gets you killed if you don't take it serious. And I texted my Lieutenant Jake, "Be there after consult, you better have them ready." And he sent back, "Recruits are nervous, sir. Please be mean." And I smiled. I remember smiling. I always loved that part. I love training. I love getting to keep doing something that matters after the blast that should have ended my career. Because yeah, I'm in a chair now, but I'm still active. I'm still the one who decides who comes home and who doesn't, and that matters to me more than walking does. Then 9:16 a.m. The black and white cruiser rolls in slow. Not like they're looking for an address, more like they're circling a target. You can feel that body language. You can feel when somebody's coming in hot and trying to act like they're not. Two officers get out, one older, big frame, pale, buzz-cut, chin thrust the way guys do when they're used to being the loudest in the room, hand already resting on his belt, like he's halfway into a movie in his own head, and one younger, jumpy eyes. You can tell he's the type that wants to impress the other one, more than he wants to understand what's happening. I didn't know their names yet. Later it's Sergeant Brent Malloy and Officer Tyler Hodge out of Cedar Bluff PD. But in that moment, they're just two uniforms walking straight at me like I'm already in trouble. No hello, no sir, you okay, no, hey, do you need assistance, none of that. "We got a call about somebody loitering," Malloy says, not asking, accusing, and I look up from my tablet because I'm honestly confused. I say, "I'm here for an appointment. I'm 10 minutes early because the doc's running behind. I'm literally waiting to be called." And he gives me that look. You know, the one that says he already decided what I am and now he's just shopping for the words that make it sound official. And he goes, "Yeah, you got ID to prove that?" And right there, that tiny move from conversation to command, I felt it. I felt the shift in my ribs the way you feel it in a bad alley overseas when the air changes and the situation is about to get stupid fast. But I'm still thinking, play it cool, do the dance, do the polite thing, so I say slow and clear because training never leaves you. My right hand is going to my wallet, and I pull out my Navy ID, my VA card with today's appointment time stamped on it, hand it over, calm, respectful, like I'd talk to a flag officer. "Lieutenant Commander Marcus Reed, Naval Special Operations Group 9, Cedar Bluff, VA Pain Management Clinic, scheduled 0900. And he barely even glances at it, hands it back like it's a fake coupon. "Stolen valor is serious," he says loud enough for the parking lot like he's building a record for an audience I can't see. A lot of guys get real creative out here lately. And his partner laughs just loud and nervous and goes, "Special operations, huh? That what you said? Special ops, bro, you can't even stand up. And Atlas shifts, not a lunge, not a growl, just slides his body 2 inches closer to my chair and plants, because that's what he's trained to do. When my heart rate spikes, block and stabilize, and Malloy points at my dog and says, "Sir, your animal is getting aggressive. You need to control that dog right now or we're going to have a problem." And that's when my patience started to break. "I won't lie to you," I said. "Atlas is a service dog. He's doing his job. You two walked up on me. I'm literally waiting for a doctor. I am not the problem here." And the second the word problem left my mouth, his face changed, his posture changed, and I knew. I promise you, I knew. Because combat teaches you this. There's always a point where someone's ego snaps louder than logic. And when that happens, they stop hearing you and start performing for whatever story they've already decided they're going to tell later. And we had just hit that point. "Listen to me, boy," he says hard like a slap by itself, and everything behind my ribs caught fire when he said it because I'm not going to pretend the word didn't carry history. It did. And it was meant to drop me to a certain place beneath him while I'm literally sitting in uniform with ribbons I bled for. And he steps in, closer hand already drifting down toward his taser, and he goes, "You don't tell me what I'm doing. You follow my instructions. You don't get mouthy. You do what I say." And I answer, "Sergeant Malloy, I am not refusing anything. I am a disabled veteran sitting on federal medical property waiting for a documented appointment. I have identified myself. I have provided ID. I have offered to call my commanding officer directly. You do not have probable cause to detain me, and you are outside jurisdiction right now." And he doesn't hear any of it, because by that point this isn't about suspicion, it's about control. "Hands where I can see them," he barks fast, overlapping my sentence like he can't even stand the sound of me finishing a thought, and there's no pause, no warning, no "you're under arrest," no "you're being detained," just pop, taser, center mass, straight into my chest. People ask me what it feels like getting hit with a taser when your legs don't work and you already have metal in your spine. I'm going to tell you, and you won't forget it. It's like your body turns into a clenched fist that somebody else is squeezing as hard as they can. All at once, every muscle you still have access to is firing without your permission, and your jaw locks, and your hands curl up and your head drops forward because your neck gives out, and you're suddenly aware of every piece of shrapnel that never got removed, every nerve that still screams at night, every visit to a place like this one just trying to manage the pain so you can stay useful. And while I'm locked up in that chair chest, burning vision-tunneling Atlas, panicking because he doesn't know if he should attack or heal, I hear this man over me satisfied like he just proved something. That's what happens when you don't follow orders, boy, and I swear to you, the worst part of that moment wasn't the electricity, it was the humiliation. It was knowing I'm in uniform in front of a building with a giant American flag out front that literally says Department of Veterans Affairs on the sign, and I'm getting treated like trash for existing in a wheelchair in the wrong place at the wrong time, while two guys who have never heard a round crack past their ear try to teach me respect. Now here's where the story tilts. Here's where it stops being just ugly and turns into something bigger than those two had any idea they were stepping into. Because the clinic doors blew open, and Rose's voice came out first, not polite anymore. "What are you doing to my patient?" And right behind her is Dr. Navarro, white coat, clipboard under her arm, hair back, pure ice in her eyes. Ex-Navy medical has patched up people in places most of America pretends don't exist, and she comes straight between me and these two like a shield and says, "This man is under my care. He's scheduled for treatment, and you just deployed a taser on a documented disabled combat veteran in a wheelchair on federal property. Identify yourselves now." And Malloy tries to pull that command voice on her. "Ma'am, step back. This is police business. We're conducting an investigation of a suspicious individual." And she slices him off mid-sentence. "Suspicious individual. He's a lieutenant commander in the United States Navy. He has a bronze star and a purple heart pinned to his chest. He's on my schedule and you are now on my video. Phone already up, calmly recording. State your names and badge numbers for the incident report." And he snaps, "You can't record us without permission." And she just says, "Actually, this is a medical event involving my patient and I'm preserving evidence in an assault, so unless you'd like to add obstruction to your morning smile." And while she's doing that, VA security rolls out the side door like a small storm. VA security is not mall cops, all right? VA security on federal ground is federal authority, and leading them that morning is Chief Alvarez, former Air Force, quiet posture but a voice like clipped steel, and he walks up and says, "Officers, I'm Chief Alvarez, Cedar Bluff VA security. You are currently using force on federal medical property without coordination or jurisdiction. I'm going to need you to step away from the patient and present identification, and I'm going to need to know exactly why you're here right now." And Malloy, who's still running hot off his own ego, goes, "We got a call about a suspicious subject loitering we're investigating." And Alvarez doesn't even blink. Cool which call sign, because I'm about to pull dispatch audio and call logs. And I watched it. I watched the first crack run through Malloy's face right there, because it finally hit him that this wasn't his parking lot anymore. This wasn't a traffic stop in some alley with no witnesses. This was federal ground cameras everywhere, chain of custody already in motion, and worse for him, I wasn't just some random guy in a chair. My hand finally stopped shaking enough to pull my phone, and of course it's buzzing because I'm late to brief, and on the screen is my CO, Captain Elise Hart. And Captain Hart is one of those officers who never needs to raise her voice. She just rearranges your spine with calm sentences. And I answer, voice still rough from the hit, "Ma'am," and she goes, "Commander Reed, you're late to the 0930 block report." And I said, "Ma'am, I'm at Cedar Bluff, VA. 2 municipal officers deployed a taser against me while I was waiting for my appointment. VA medical and security are on scene. I am stable. Situation is contained." And there was this dead silence on the line, not confused silence, cold silence. And she said, "Repeat, last transmission. Did you say 2 municipal officers used a taser on you while you were seated in your wheelchair on VA property?" And I said, "Affirmative." And she said, "Understood, document everything, do not engage any further, we are elevating." And she hung up. No yelling, no drama, just that. And I'm telling you right now, I've heard missiles spin up with less threat in them than we are elevating. From that point on, it stopped being Cedar Bluff's little situation and started being a federal incident, because once word hit my chain of command that a local cop put hands on an active-duty Naval Special Operations commander with top-secret clearance, while I was sitting outside a federal medical facility waiting to treat combat injuries, it became a national problem, not a local one. And things moved fast after that, faster than those 2 officers realized, faster than the chief of their department realized, faster than the mayor realized. Because by lunch that day, both of those officers were off the street and being told not to talk to anyone by early afternoon. The FBI civil rights team out of Springfield was in the lobby of the VA reviewing surveillance footage. By that evening, local news was already running the headline, "Disabled Navy Commander Tased Outside VA Clinic." And by the next morning, national outlets had it. My name was on a crawler under words like civil rights violation and brutality. And every veteran in a 50-mile radius who'd ever been talked down to in a parking lot showed up out front in wheelchairs and on crutches and with oxygen tanks and with sleeves pinned, where an arm used to be just sitting there in silence, daring anyone else with a badge to walk up and try something again. And you could feel it in the air, man. You could feel this thing shift from incident to reckoning in real time. Yeah, that happened. Cedar Bluff tried to play damage control. Of course they did. I heard later they had an emergency sit-down at City Hall, the mayor, the police chief, the union rep, the city attorney, and the first thing out of the attorney's mouth was basically, "We can frame this as a misunderstanding. We just have to move fast and stay consistent. Say the suspect was non-compliant. Say the officers feared for their safety." You know that line, feared for their safety, and you know why they use it, because it shuts a lot of doors. It makes people think, oh well, maybe it was scary, maybe it escalated. But here's where their plan fell apart before they even finished the coffee. And this is the part I love telling, because this is where the world turned on them. Not me on them. A gas station across the street had security cameras that picked up the whole approach. And guess what? That footage showed. It showed nobody called 911 about me. Nobody complained. No suspicious subject report. No man with a weapon. No disturbance. Nothing. It showed. Malloy drive past, slow down, stare at me, circle around, talk to his rookie circle again, then pull in park behind my truck and walk up like he's already decided I'm a threat just because a black man in a chair with a uniform and ribbons doesn't fit his idea of what a real veteran looks like. And when the FBI got that footage and lined it up with the clinic cameras and Dr. Navarro's recording and my CO call log, that whole "we feared for our safety" storyline died right there on the table. Within 48 hours, the FBI didn't just open a use of force case, they filed federal civil rights charges against both officers. Deprivation of rights under color of law, which is fancy for you used your badge to violate someone's basic rights. And trust me, you do not want that on your jacket. That's the kind of charge that comes with real prison time, not county, not suspension with pay federal, and then obstruction charges started circling because word got out that the city attorney was already quietly trying to guide witness statements. And listen, if you want to see a federal agent get personally offended, try to tamper with a witness on federal property under camera. They do not like that, they really do not. A week later, I rolled into federal court for the arraignment and watched those two officers stand there in cuffs, and the judge, who had already seen the footage, already read the testimony, already knew exactly who I was and who they were, set bail at $500,000 each and barred them from their jobs while they waited for trial. And when I tell you the room got quiet, I mean quiet in a way you can hear in your teeth, because for the first time in a long time, people like me, people in chairs, people with scars, people who did the nasty work overseas and came home with missing parts, were watching the system say out loud on paper, you don't get to do that to them, and walk away. And it didn't stop there, it couldn't. Because by then, this wasn't just about me getting tased, this had turned into a question the whole country had to stare at. And the question was simple: if they will do that to a uniformed active duty commander in broad daylight, in front of witnesses on VA property, what are they doing to the vets who don't look military enough? What are they doing to the women who get told you never served? What are they doing to the guys with PTSD who shake or talk too loud or reach for their wallet too fast? And because that question hit nerves in a lot of places at once, the Senate called a hearing and asked me to testify, which was not on my bingo card for the year. I'll be real with you. I'm not a politician. I'm not a press guy. I'm not built for cameras and podiums. I'm built for rooms with no windows and plans that start at 0200. But I showed up and I sat there in my chair with Atlas at my side, and I told them exactly what I told you. I told them about this word boy. I told them how fast it went from show ID to hands where I can see them to 50,000 volts in my chest. I told them how it felt when my head dropped and I could hear him brag over me like he'd just taught me a lesson. And then I told them the part that matters. I said, Senators, I don't want pity. I'm not asking for sympathy. I'm not a victim, begging for help. I'm telling you point blank, if this can happen to me in uniform, with ribbons, with a documented appointment with federal witnesses, then you already know it's happening to people with less protection than me. And most of them don't get cameras, and most of them don't get federal charges filed on their behalf, and most of them do not get a microphone. And the room got real still, and I watched faces shift, because it's easy in this country to say support the troops with a bumper sticker. It's a whole different thing to hear what it looks like when the troops come home broken and still get treated like suspects in their own VA parking lot. Out of that hearing came pressure, and out of that pressure came something I honestly did not expect in my lifetime. Legislation, real stuff. Not thoughts and prayers. They pushed what's now called the Read Veteran Dignity Act, which basically says if you're law enforcement and you put hands on a veteran getting medical care for service-connected injuries, you better be able to prove, not just claim, prove that your life was in immediate danger, or you're looking at federal charges, not internal review, not paid leave, you're looking at prison. And the act also forces departments that take federal money to train their officers, and I mean actually train them, not watch a 12-minute slideshow, on PTSD, on mobility issues, on how to talk to people in chronic pain who don't move fast, on how to recognize a service dog doing medical work, on how not to walk up on a wheelchair user, like you're already their warden. And it requires departments near VA clinics and bases to assign veteran liaisons, people who have actually worn a uniform, so the next time some local sergeant thinks a guy in a chair is suspicious, somebody who understands that world steps in before anything gets stupid. So yeah, those two officers, Malloy and Hodge, they ended up convicted in federal court. Malloy pulled 8 years, Hodge pulled 6. Both of them banned from law enforcement for life. The Cedar Bluff police chief resigned. The mayor suddenly wasn't available for comment anymore. The city wrote a check so big to settle the civil case, it almost broke their budget. Cedar Bluff PD got new leadership, and the new chief, former Marine MP Latina does not play, cleaned house and made it clear that in her department you do not touch veterans like that, not ever. And Cedar Bluff VA put up new cameras and new procedures, and this part still gets me a little memorial garden by the ramp where it all happened, with a plaque dedicated to veterans who've been harassed or harmed after coming home. And on that plaque there's a line they asked if they could use from something I said, and it reads, "Respect isn't charity. It's the bill this country owes to the people who already paid up front." And I'm not gonna lie, the first time I rolled past that and saw Atlas lay down in the same spot where he panicked that morning, I had to sit still for a minute and just breathe, because for the first time since that taser hit me, I felt something that wasn't anger, it was something like relief. And here's where I'm gonna leave you, and I'm asking you straight because I actually wanna know, not for me, for you. We say in this country that we love our veterans. We clap at the ball game, we put the flag on the truck, we post the picture on Memorial Day. But when the cameras aren't on and it's just a tired guy in a chair outside a clinic, do we treat him like someone who served? Or do we treat him like a problem that needs to prove he belongs? I want you to tell me in the comments if you've seen something like this, if you've lived something like this. If you're law enforcement and you think I'm being unfair, I want to hear that too. Tell me where you're watching from and what time it is right now. Tell me if you think this was two bad cops getting what they deserved, or if you think it's a whole system that only changed because for once it got embarrassed in public. Because I'm going to be honest with you. I survived Afghanistan. I survived surgery. I survived waking up in a hospital with no legs. In a future I didn't recognize all of that, and somehow the part that almost broke me was sitting in uniform in my own VA parking lot being treated like I was lying about earning the right to be there. So tell me, after hearing this, do you think that was just an accident? Or do you think that was the truth finally getting caught on camera?